In this video, Myron reacts to a liberal that cannot argue her point, and he talks about how the point that Destiny was making could have been explained a little bit better. And he gives his how he would explain it in his type of way. And he also talked about how a lot of women that are in the liberal conservative space are lying.
Well, George Floyd was brutally murdered by a police officer who
No, he wasn't, Pierce. He died from fentanyl, but that's another conversation.
was convicted of brutally murdering him. And unfortunately, we saw it all on a cell phone. Otherwise, it would have probably never been reported. I can see you shaking your head there, Destiny. Do you want to say
this
something?
happens all the time. Whenever you debate conservatives, I mean, it's happened here. I've seen it happen in other places. It'll be like, here's the standards for, Republican lawmakers. And then they'll point to like people on Twitter on the other side. Like, well, what about that person? Well, I don't remember voting for George Floyd for president or nominating him for president. The idea that that's your basis of comparison, like, oh, you've got a problem with Donald Trump. Well, what about George Floyd? It's just such a hilariously telling, I think, example.
Okay, that was a good rebuttal. That was actually a good rebuttal by Destiny. Let's see how Emily responds.
Well, let me ask you a difficult question.
Well, he was also
Here we go.
a criminal that overdosed, but that's another situation.
That still doesn't get him any closer to being nominated for president of the Democratic Party. I don't understand what the comparison is for.
It's just funny to have different standards. You're like, this is fine, but this isn't fine. That's the whole point of that. You don't need to read that deeply into it. It's not that big of a deal.
It's funny to have different.
It's a
Do you have
joke.
different standards for different people? Isn't that the point, to have different standards for different people? Like,
Yeah.
The point is
I know,
more
once again, that's a
the way
joke.
that
It
they
goes
uplift
far
George
over
Floyd.
liberals'
They put
heads.
him on mural.
Bro, oh, it's a joke. It goes over. See how she backpedals it? Like, dude, fucking idiot, man. Like, bro.
You stupid.
This is the second time I've seen her fumble debates with liberals. Fucking stupid. What she should have said was, okay, I'll give you a functional equivalent. Joe Biden is a criminal. He's been doing money laundering for a significant amount of time. That is why we're involved in this fucking conflict in Ukraine, because he has business ties and inappropriate relationships with members of the government in Ukraine. And that is why he's had a biased viewpoint in supporting Ukraine in a war that, quite frankly, we can't win. Or she could have said how the Clintons literally rug pulled Haiti through the Clinton Foundation. And they're also criminals. Or Benghazi, whatever. She could have easily used a political comparison with the Donald Trump line of Donald Trump being a criminal and used a Democratic equivalent of the same stature. That's all she had to do. But she didn't do it. Why? Because she's a retard. Okay? Destiny got her on the ropes very easily. Well, George Floyd wasn't running for president. Fair. Let me go ahead and give you a functional equivalent. And then bam, you got the Clintons and you got the Biden crime family. Easy. Fucking easy. But she couldn't do that because she's a moron. And this isn't the first time that I've seen her debate liberals and embarrass herself. We did a whole reaction to her and Dean Withers. Remember that, chat? That was painful to watch. Absolutely painful to watch. Now, why am I showing you guys this debate between Destiny and Emily Saves America on Pierce Morgan? I'm showing it to let you guys know women in the conservative space is not good when they're the thought leaders. I fucking said it, okay? I said it. One more time for you motherfuckers. Women in the conservative space being thought leaders is not good for the fucking movement. They can't articulate anything. They're dumb, and they don't believe in it. A lot of them are here to grift, make money, build a following, and get out. That's what they're here for. They don't actually believe in a lot of this shit. They don't actually practice a lot of this shit. A lot of them are actually undercover hoes, right? As you can see with Ashley St. Clair. And they don't actually live by their ideals. And here's the thing. I'll be honest. Let's go ahead and give the women a pass here to a degree. Not a pass, but let's be a little sensitive to their situation. As a female, it's way easier for you to fuck up, right? If I go fuck a bunch of bitches and I label myself a conservative, well, that's a bit more, how do I say this, acceptable than a woman that labels herself a conservative and is fucking a bunch of people, right? Because you could go ahead and make the argument that men are naturally polygamous, right? I have 4 wives, I have multiple wives, etc. You could still be a conservative and be fairly promiscuous as a guy to some degree, because there's ways to put it in the confinements of a religion or some type of controlled environment, right? But there is no institution set up for women to be hoes when it comes to conservatism. Sorry. And unfortunately, in this deregulated sexual marketplace that we live in now, where a lot of these women are conservatives, but they're still sluts, it doesn't make sense. Right? So in other words, it's way easier for women to fuck up than it is for men. Because women have more access. So therefore, since women have more access, they have more opportunities, and they're able to get men and do the shit that they do and leverage their sexuality and all this other shit. They do it a lot of times. They be hoes in college like Ashley St. Clair. They be hoes before they get on YouTube like maybe Emily Saves America. So then when they actually get into the fucking arena and they debate someone like a Destiny who actually isn't fucking retarded, what does he do? He makes her look shitty with a very easy rebuttal to one of her claims. Again, everyone tries to make fun of Trump for being a felon. Right? And then she uses George Floyd as a comparison. Destiny properly says, well, they're not the same because one is running for president, so they're held to a completely different standard. Fair argument. What she should have done was say, well, Bill Clinton, the Obamas, the Biden crime family, they're all involved in a bunch of bullshit too. Boom. She would have been good. But she's too stupid to know that. So she made herself look like an ass. And not only did she make herself look like an ass, she made herself look like an ass on Piers fucking Morgan. One of the biggest shows on YouTube, biggest debate platforms. Made herself look like a fucking idiot. And when she makes herself look like an idiot, who else looks like idiots? Everyone on the right, everyone in MAG, everyone in the conservative space, they all look like retards. So this is my problem when we have women be the thought leaders and lead the right. They just can't do it. Because they're in here for the wrong reasons. That's the fucking truth. I have no problem with women that, maybe they were hoes before and they changed their lifestyle and now they're more conservative. Fine. I don't even have an issue with that. Right? But what I do have an issue is when these girls get into positions where they're the thought leaders and they speak on behalf of us. That is where I draw my fucking problems. Okay? This is why I look at people like Sadia Khan, for example. Right? Bitches, and they speak on behalf of us. That is where I draw my fucking problems. Okay? This is why I look at people like Sadia Khan, for example, right? Bitch has been bad-mouthing me for years, right? She's begged to come on the podcast multiple times. Every time I'm in Dubai, she blows my shit up. But she's constantly talking shit saying, fresh and fit are toxic. They don't teach men how to be proper gentlemen or do X, Y, Z. But then she goes ahead and tries to sell her course on teaching men how to be attractive or help relationships. Bitch, you don't got a relationship yourself. You're lying. You're not in a relationship. She went on the Mike Thurston podcast saying that she's in a relationship. That's cap. It's not true. She's single herself. And if I'm not mistaken, she's probably in her late 20s or 30s now at this point. Let's talk facts. Any guy that goes to a female for advice when it comes to attracting women is a